Hello and good afternoon or early evening, whatever the time is, wherever you are. I am Helen Parsons. I am a gut health and a weight loss coach, and I'm here today to talk about our energy and the things that are depleting our energy and what we can do about that because this is something that is in our control, even though we are led to believe that it may not be. Okay, so as you jump on, if you would say hello, and hopefully Facebook is going to show me the comments as people comment. If I miss your comment, I definitely will be going back through them after the video is over to make sure that I have addressed everything as questions, comments come up. Okay, this is the third live video in our weight loss mystery segment. And so we've talked about the hormones and the gut hormone connection. And last week we talked about inflammation, which is a real problem for many of us. And this week we're going to talk about that energy drain, which I know from the responses that I've gotten is something that concerns a lot of you. Just a quick overview of my story and how I got here today and why this is even of interest to me. So, not too long ago, a few years back, I was doing everything right. I was eating really well and I was exercising. So I kind of had let my weight creep up a little bit, but I was of that mindset that it's okay. When I get serious about it, I can lose it. Well, I couldn't, and had it creeped up a little more than I had expected. And so when I had like 4 weeks of very intentional eating, exercise, and nothing, the scale didn't move. I was like, what the heck, right? So I allowed myself to get frustrated and I allowed myself to get angry and a little depressed. And then I thought, no, there's an answer here somewhere. So I dug in and I started researching. I found this world of gut health and I found all of these connections throughout our body, the things that gut health is the foundation of. And one of them is weight and exhaustion and inflammation and hormones and all of the things that I have been talking about. So, when I finally did a gut protocol, and not only did I lose weight, but I felt amazing, I was like, okay, there are so many women out there who need to know this. There are so many women that don't. And so, after I, finished my education, I created my own program called the Gut Health Solution that I just love, and I love presenting it and talking about it. But, anyways, that is what brings me here today talking to you about energy. Okay, so some common energy struggles that women face after 40. And these are from like my own personal experience, women that I've worked with, women that I've just spoken to. So here are some things that are common across the board. One, you experience that afternoon crash that no amount of coffee is going to fix. It's just that like Another one that is really kind of disturbing is waking up and feeling exhausted even after you've had a good night's sleep. You're like, you can kind of get it when maybe you didn't get a good night's sleep, but when you've slept well and you wake up and still feel exhausted, that is concerning. Have you ever planned your day around when you know you'll crash or when you can take a nap? That's kind of a signal to us that something is wrong. Or relying on sugar and or caffeine just to function. For me it was sugar. Caffeine never consistently worked for me. So it was sugar. It's like that, the Snickers bar commercial. So true, right? There's a reason that it gives you energy and it's not a secret ingredient in a Snickers, it's the sugar. You want to be healthy, right? You want to eat well and you want to exercise, but you're so tired. You just don't have the physical or the mental energy to put into like planning your meals and then grocery shopping and prepping them, and exercise is just completely off the table. So all of those things are kind of signs that there may be something that we need to address, because these are not normal things. What we also find is that our social lives become affected, that we start to kind of withdraw because it's just so much easier to stay home in our comfy clothes on the couch than it is to get dressed up, to go out, and to have to interact with people, because that takes energy, right? So, what does mainstream advice tell us about this? That would be like our friends and magazines and the internet and all of those things. I said magazines. So, when you're tired, have you ever been told that you need to just exercise? Yeah. I think I've probably been guilty of saying it to someone, but I know how crazy that is, because when you are that kind of bone tired, when you barely have the energy to put one foot in front of the other, you're not going to exercise, right? I mean, it is true. Exercise does give you that energy boost, but if you're barely functioning, exercise is not going to be a priority. We have doctors that dismiss our fatigue as normal aging, or maybe you're just stressed, those kinds of things. And so they run some blood work, but the tests all come back normal. So anything that's wrong with us is probably up here, right? At least that's what they seem to be implying. Um, and so what do? We push through, because as women, that's what we are told we have to do. And we're miserable, and we start to make the people around us miserable also. There's a very real, I gotta grab my water. There's a very real life impact of being chronically fatigued. Relationships will suffer. You don't have the energy to, by the time you get to that point of the day where it's time for bed, sleep is all you have the energy to do. There's no room for romance, things like that. You just can't wrap your head around it. You would like to wrap your head around it, but you just can't. Relationships, friendships, like I talked about earlier, you don't want to go out. It's just too much. You withdraw from social activities. Sorry, I just totally had a space there. You withdraw from things that you love to do, things that you enjoy, and your world becomes smaller. And there's a real mental and emotional toll of constant exhaustion. Okay, let's just touch on the energy gut connection. So there is a missing piece of advice in there's a missing piece in all of the advice and all of the solutions that are presented to us. And that missing piece is the gut as your energy production center. So it's like your energy factory, right? So where energy begins to get created. So you can do sleep and you can do stress management, but if your gut health is compromised, they aren't going to be enough, because even perfect sleep, even a good 8 hours sleep, isn't going to restore all of your energy if your gut isn't healthy and can't absorb the nutrients that it needs from the food that you're feeding it. So your gut extracts nutrients from food, and those nutrients directly fuel your cells' energy producing mechanisms. Okay? Nutrients from your nutrients from your fuel go to energy making in cells. That's like the simplest form. Your gut microbiome converts food into specific compounds that power your metabolism and your cellular function. Energy is made at a cellular level, but what is made at a cellular level has to come from somewhere. It doesn't just create itself. Stress management techniques are absolutely amazing. They're wonderful. I would harp on them all day long. But if your gut is sending stress signals to your brain, those relaxation techniques, they are not necessarily going to work because the stress signals are going to override that. They're going to be much stronger than anything you're getting. Now, don't get me wrong, stress management techniques are extremely important. So I'm just saying there's another part of that picture. So here you are, you're eating perfectly. You're eating all of this good food, this whole food, this food you're told it's gonna be good for your body, and you still feel exhausted. What's the deal, right? Inflammation in the gut creates a kind of barrier that prevents the absorption of these energy producing nutrients that your cells need to make energy, right? So if you have inflammation, there's a barrier to the absorption of the nutrients. And then the wrong foods for you, this is highly individual, the wrong foods, even if they're healthy ones, they trigger gut irritation, and the gut irritation is going to divert your energy to healing rather than the daily functions of your body. So now we have a pretty vicious cycle, right? We have gut issues, and the gut issues are making poor nutrient absorption. The poor nutrient absorption is giving us low energy. When you have low energy, you've probably experienced it is much more likely you're going to make poor food choices. And then the poor food choices trigger worse gut health. And we just keep going in that crazy, crazy cycle of damage. And so this explains your unexplained fatigue, that fatigue that you know somewhere is just not normal. There's a link between your gut health and your body's ability to generate, to create cellular energy, because those cells have to get the nutrients. The nutrients have to come from somewhere. They come from the gut. So your gut health directly impacts how efficiently your body converts food into energy at a very fundamental level. Inflammation will also steal your energy resources. Inflammation, and we talked about this last week. Yeah. Inflammation triggers an immune response in our bodies, and that immune response requires tremendous energy, which is going to redirect our energy resources from the daily functions that it needs to do to this crisis inflammation. We only have a limited source of energy. We keep creating more energy as we eat, but if that energy is getting diverted somewhere, it's going away from the things that we need to function daily. I hope that makes sense. And chronic inflammation, so we can have, you can have an acute inflammatory response, and that's perfectly normal. It's the body protecting itself. But chronic inflammation creates a kind of energy tax that your body must pay. It's got to pay that inflammatory energy tax before it can then allocate energy to other places. So that's going to take priority. Is it making any sense why you're so tired now? Like at the root, you're doing the right things. Your body isn't able to use those right things. So your body cannot effectively use that good food that you're feeding it because your gut is compromised. Okay, now let's talk for a second about energy as your body's currency. I mean, feeling good is wonderful, but that's not all that energy is about. We all want to feel good, but energy powers every function in your body, every single one of them. And there's a difference, excuse me. There's a difference between normal tiredness and chronic energy depletion. everybody experiences tiredness. That's just a part of being human. But when that goes from day to day and weeks and months without any sort of relief, you have to go, something's not right here. So, as I mentioned just a little bit ago, your body is going to make decisions about where it's going to allocate its energy, and weight loss is not going to be a priority. When you think about all of the places in your body that need energy, energy towards your metabolism is not going to be a big priority, especially if there's chronic inflammation present. So there's kind of like a survival hierarchy, and your body will say, um, we need to get energy to the vital organs. That's pretty important, right? And that's going to take priority over your metabolism. I hope that makes sense. Um, Energy conservation mechanisms in our body actually slow our metabolism, and then that promotes fat storage, which when your body senses this energy crisis, it's going to store fat as kind of like a conservation, a survival mechanism. So, addressing energy, yes, addressing energy through gut health affects everything in your body from your brain function to your metabolism. For example, your gut produces over 90% of serotonin and other neurotransmitters, the things that send signals to our brain that directly impact our brain function and our mood. Big connection to mood. Healing the gut optimizes hormone signaling throughout the body. Our body functions on these neurotransmitters, these signals getting sent everywhere. And so optimizing your gut function can improve everything from thyroid function to insulin sensitivity. So that's quite a broad spectrum. You're probably wondering, what are some of the signs that may tell me that my gut is draining my energy, that I might want to look at my gut health as a source of this constant exhaustion that I feel? So things like energy crashes after eating certain foods. I just had a conversation with a client who noticed that this weekend over Easter, eating maybe some things she wasn't normally used to eating, and she noticed the energy zap. So that's a big one. That mid-afternoon slump, that's not normal. Even just because a bunch of people experience it, that doesn't make it normal. And if it happens every day, or it happens, and you got a good night's sleep, that's something that you might want to be concerned about. And then there's that morning fatigue that happens despite adequate rest. I can remember when I was feeling pretty lousy, I would get up and do my workout and have breakfast, and then I was like, I'm done. I got to go back to bed. And that is not normal. Cravings for sugar and simple carbs like bread and pasta and all of those things. That's a signal. We actually have bacteria in our gut that signal for these cravings for these foods. Brain fog, difficulty concentrating is another big one. The need for caffeine to even function is a big one. And exercise intolerance or post-exercise exhaustion. I had this when I started running, and I thought, well, it's just because I'm running. That's, depleting my energy. But that wasn't normal. I didn't know. We don't know what we don't know, right? But I would have that runner's high when I would get done. But then I'd be like, oh my gosh, I need to take a nap, which I don't exercise to have to take a nap. That's kind of silly. So any of those things are going to be signals that maybe you have some things going on in your gut that you need to address. But hey, there's good news. And the good news is that energy can be improved relatively quickly with gut healing. The body has a remarkable capacity to restore our vitality when the gut is supported. So, without fail, one of the first things that women in my program notice is that they have a much more steady flow of energy throughout their day. They're not having those those dips that are just so hard to they're so hard to deal with. Benefits beyond energy: weight loss, which is, I know, something that you care about, mental clarity, and mood improvement. That was another thing that I noticed pretty quickly, was that my overall just kind of general outlook on things really improved. So this approach, healing your gut, creates sustainable energy, not like quick fix energy like a Snickers bar. What we're doing is we're healing at a foundation instead of sticking a band-aid on it, or a brick to cover it up. So what I do is I have a 3-phase approach to restoring energy through gut healing. The first phase is to identify and eliminate those things that are draining our energy. Common gut irritants, common foods that specifically deplete energy. Hidden sources of inflammation. If you watched last week's live, a lot of talk about inflammation, but inflammation can create fatigue. There are also environmental factors that we want to be aware of that can impact both our gut health and our energy. And stress patterns. Stress patterns will deplete gut function. And we're talking about patterns, not just here and there stress. So that's number one: identify and eliminate. Number two, we rebuild from the foundation up. So we rebuild your energy foundation. We kind of flood the body with nutrients and foods that are going to support your gut health, which is going to support your energy production. This gut healing protocol specifically targets energy restoration. So we support our microbiome so that our microbiome can help us create optimal energy. This is a part where personalization is really important, because it's not like we can say across the board, this is going to deplete your energy and this isn't, or this is going to create inflammation and this isn't. It is a very individual thing. And so we have to look at those things individually. And then part 3 of the protocol is to create sustainable practices, daily habits that support our gut and our energy production, balancing activity and rest so that we can have this optimal level of vitality, and maintaining our results without feeling like we're constantly following a diet or a program. We want to just live and not obsess about food and exercise. And so that's what we create in this last part. Now, that was a lot of talking. So I want to give the ladies who watched this video a little gift. So anyone who watched, you're going to see a link to my online calendar. And in that calendar, I have set aside some spaces in the next week for you to book a free 15-minute kind of consult, chit-chat kind of thing. There is absolutely nothing to buy. We're not going to talk about buying, selling, anything like that. It's just a chance for me to get to know you and what's going on with you in regards to your health. And my goal is to give you, based on what's going on with you, to give you one action item that you can start implementing to start working on your gut health. You can also connect with me in the comments of this video. You can connect with me through a private message. You can connect with me through email. You're probably on my email list. Okay, just make sure you book that call, because those are a fantastic way for you to get a free tip, a free way that you can work on the things that will help just you specifically. Next week is the 4th and final live video in the weight loss mystery series, and in that one we are really going to dive in to the gut weight connection. We touched on it kind of in all of the other videos, but this one is dedicated completely to that connection. So the goal is that by the end you see that how all of these other things, why the other things aren't working, but when you heal your gut, that will. You'll get it. Okay, so Please, when you've watched the video, comment, let me know, hi, I was here, or something that lets me know you were here, and book that 15-minute free call. And I will chat with you soon.